first encounter specifically, we're going with a concussive dampener, a solar resistance, and a void resistance. That will change as we go encounter to encounter. On the boots, double kinetic weapon surge for a 17% weapon damage bonus for our Praxic Blade in conjunction with Harmonic Scavenger. And then class item, Reaper, Powerful Attraction, Time Dilation. If you don't have 11 energy, you can probably drop the Powerful Attraction for like maybe a Bomber mod or an Outreach mod instead. Basically, all of these mods are going to remain identical throughout the entirety of the dungeon, with exception to the resistances, so you can kind of keep that the entire time. Final thing is our artifacts, which is particularly important. Swordstorm combo, going to help a lot with some bonus damage. Kinetic Rupture can be a little bit of bonus damage as well. I think the Praxic Blade procs it a little bit, sometimes, sort of. It's not super consistent, but it's a tiny bit of extra damage, so why not? Combination Argent Blade. This procs occasionally gives you a little bit of extra damage. What we really care the most about, though, is Singularity Blade, where while you have a Void Elemental buff, melee and sword hits weaken targets. This is going to amp up your DPS a little bit, because if you walk into DPS phase with Devour active, which is Void Elemental buff, then your Praxic Blade hits will weaken targets, so you'll do bonus damage. We also, like something like Kinetic Synthesis, Sustained Kinetic Weapon Damage, and Rapid Final Blows, have a chance to generate a unique ammo brick that keeps higher uptime on our Praxic Blade ammo. With all that, that is the build. Now, I've already taken the liberty of coming here to the first encounter. I figure you don't really need a guide that shows you how to get here, but I do want to mention that if you're looking for a specific encounter in particular or a specific section, I do have labeled chapters in the video play bar down below. So if you want to skip ahead and maybe you can up the final boss or the second boss, something like that, you can go ahead and skip ahead. However, I would encourage you to definitely pay attention to this first encounter, because I'm going to offer some general tips that are very, very helpful to know for the entirety of the Soul of Flawless Dungeon that are applicable to all of the encounters in this dungeon, not just the first one. I'm going to talk about some of those general tips as I get through this first encounter, so I would encourage you to hang out. Now, when you clear this initial wave of enemies, you do want to be very, very careful of this platform right here, as the shielded enemy will fly in with the ball, and obviously that'll one-shot you if you're standing on it. We'll then simply drag him over here and activate this thing as he does his white move, and then this white move, it's really important to note that if you can line of sight it, so if there's a piece of cover behind you and that enemy, it will never hit you, which is pretty important to note. Another thing I want to mention as well, part of the reason I absolutely love using the Praxic Blade for the clear in this dungeon is because if he's doing that attack, if you block with the Praxic Blade, you take basically no damage from it. And that's the case for basically every single thing in this entire dungeon. So there's a couple situations where maybe he might be doing that attack and you don't have the buff to go ahead and hit him, or maybe you're too far away. If you just go ahead and hit the Praxic Blade block, it does absolutely nothing. So you're borderline immune while you're doing the Praxic Blade block, which is generally speaking a pretty good tip. Once we get this door open, we'll go ahead and hop on a bike and run the ride. Typically just go right and run a full circle, but it is up to you. You'll notice that I only opened one of the doors as well. I don't really find it that necessary to open all three of the doors or even two of them. I just opened the one that gives me access to the Praxic Temple. You'll see why I picked that one specifically in a little bit, by the way, but there is a particular reason that I do the one for the Praxic Temple specifically. And we'll get to that in a moment after we collect all the buffs. Even after you do collect your final buff too, and you get the Shadow Novice, I do recommend still trying to hit the remaining buffs as you complete your lap, because it will refresh the timer on your Shadow Novice buff, so you'll walk in with a full 40 seconds of buff. So once we get through here, we'll go ahead and hop on out, and we will take this dude out. We're going to make his attack first, go ahead and hit him, then we're going to eat our Arc Soul, then we're going to hit our Hellion, take him out, and then anytime you kill these guys, you will spawn a walker, which is one of the reasons that a big tip I have for you when it comes to this dungeon is stay out of the middle. Stay on the outskirts, because those walkers come down in the Cabal drop pods, and obviously those will immediately one-shot you if you get hit by them. Also, anytime you kill that dude, he will drop a puddle that allows you to step into it to refresh your Shadow Novice buff. It's a really nice situation. Now, generally speaking, I like looping around to the left. You can go around to the right if you prefer, I suppose, but I find the left to be a little bit easier pathing. So we're just going to go ahead and take out the walkers as we approach them. These Scion Snipers can be a little bit annoying as well, so definitely take them out as you arrive at them. I'm going to wait for this dude to do his little shield thing. Scion wall next to him. Any day now, buddy. Thank you. And another big tip I want to provide after I take this guy out, well, I'm actually going to, if a walker pushes you from where you came from, by the way, definitely worthwhile to double back and just take it out real quick so it's not messing with you from behind. Another tip I want to give, though, that's absolutely huge for this dungeon is you'll notice that even though I have the Shadow Novice buff and I'm doing the Force Pulse, I am still able to do my grenade and eat it for Getaway Artist. This is a tip that I've seen a lot of people not really aware of, which is a gigantic tip for this dungeon. While you're in possession of the Shadow Novice buff, if you press whatever button pulls up your Renegade abilities, so for me that button is Z on my keyboard, it will flip between the Shadow Force Pulse buff and your actual grenade. So if you look in the lower left of my screen right now, if I press Z, it'll pull up the Shadow Pulse buff. And then if I hit Z again, it'll pull back up my actual grenade. So that is a gigantic tip, because with this build, you definitely want to be able to eat your grenade, and you definitely want to be able to do it even if you do not, even while you're in possession of the Shadow Novice buff. So making sure to keep in mind that you do have the option to go ahead and flip-flop between the force push that allows you to do the mechanic in conjunction with doing your actual grenade. Really, really, really big. We're going to take out that guy, make another puddle, hop in there. I'm going to try and take out this Scion as well. It can be relatively decent, by the way, to run a machine gun for this encounter instead of the E-Red sword that I'm running, because you can use that machine gun to take out those Scions from far away. Not going to say it's not a requirement or anything. As you can see, I've been using the E-Red sword, but I'm doing that more so just because it makes this a little faster. I'll go ahead and take out this final walker. There are 6 shielded guys in total, by the way. So this is the final one right here. And once we kill this final shielded guy, we will spawn the Gloriosus walkers, which are incredibly tanky and deal an incredibly high amount of damage. 3 of them specifically, and you really want to respect these guys because they absolutely fry, okay? It is for this reason that I also really, really love running Song of Flame for this particular section, because if one of them starts nuking me here, you'll see how much damage it does to me. If one of them starts nuking me, I can just go ahead and pop Song of Flame. And then that makes me borderline invincible, so I can take them out while I'm in the Song of Flame. And then ideally, I'm going to use the Song of Flame plus my Praxic Blade to hopefully take out another if I can. I'm not really worrying about the timer on my Shadow Novice buff because I don't have any of the shielded guys left to go. Another tip I can give you, and this is why I really like doing the Praxic Blade room first, is if you're having a tough time taking out the Gloriosus walkers, you can just hang out back here extremely safely and chip away at them, or you can hang out back here, grab like a bike or something like that, and you can flank away with the bike. I'm actually not exactly sure what the final Gloriosus is. There it is. But you can just kind of flank away with the bike. The bike's not going to do a crazy amount of damage, but it's relatively safe. And it's going to keep you relatively healthy. But yeah, for the most part, you do want to respect Gloriosus walkers. They deal a significant amount of damage. They're very, very tanky, especially considering that it infinitely spawns these Centurions while they're out. It's a little bit annoying. So just kind of letting the souls do the work and not taking any unnecessary risks when it comes to dealing with Gloriosus walkers would be particularly nice. Also have your Transcendence also. Bop, bop, bop. Grenade. And just like that, that is the first encounter. Now, after the first encounter, the only big recommendation that I would make to you as you make your way into the jumping puzzle to get to second encounter, there are a couple of very dangerous areas that can 100% ruin your run. So I would encourage you to actually watch during this section because it sucks to have your run ruined during a jumping puzzle. You need one of 2 things to make this jumping puzzle a lot safer. Option 1 is an Eager Edge Sword. And option 2 is to switch your subclass and go to Grapple Grenade on Strand. We'll talk about why specifically you want to do one or 2 of those things. I personally prefer running just an Eager Edge Sword, but I will show you why we do that in just a brief moment. So we're going to land right on in here. We're going to run right on forward, hop straight up. We're going to turn to the right 90 degrees, maybe a little bit more than 90 degrees, hop on this platform, and then turn another left 90 degrees and hop up here. And then this part's pretty intuitive. And it's also worth noting that in basically all of these sections, you don't actually have to kill the enemies. I mean, you can, of course, pop your Soul and your Hellion, stuff like that and whatnot, but none of these enemies in the section you actually have to kill, save a few. Like in this area, for example, we've got this very tanky dude. You can just run right past him. And just keep on going. Just like this. These guys right here, you can just run right past them. And while I'm doing this running, by the way, I would like to direct your attention to the bottom right of my screen. There are currently two emblems that you can get only by watching my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/Mactix, during the Dawning event specifically. You're just red short. We'll talk about why specifically you want to do one or two of those things. Personally prefer run. Running just an eager red sword, but I will show you why we do that in just a brief moment. So, and then it gets past right there. For whatever reason though, if you do go on stream minutes, the other emblem you can get by subscribing to my stream or gifting a sub while I'm live. So if you're interested in either of those emblems in the bottom right of your screen, I would highly encourage you to stop by, say hi, we can talk builds, talk Destiny, all that goodness. And if you like the emblems, you can of course obtain them if you would like. Once you get into this room, we're going to have 3 arc coils, 2 to the right, and then the final one is going to be on top of the door to the left. And this right here is why you need your grapple grenade or the eager edge sword, because on Warlock left, and this right here, 2 to obtain them if you would like. Once you get into this room, we're going to have 3 arc coils, 2 to the right, and then the final one is going to be on top of the door to the left. And this right here is why you need your grapple grenade or the eager edge sword, because on Warlock, making this jump, because when you jump, it'll push you back, it'll push you that way, and making this jump on Warlock is incredibly annoying without one of those two things. It is worth noting that you can swap to straight glide instead, and straight glide makes it for whatever reason so that you don't really get affected by the push. So as an example, if I go burst glide, I'm going to do this right here. As you'll see, if I do my burst glide, I'll start getting pushed. In fact, it's like borderline impossible to make it with burst glide unless you do have the eager edge sword or a grapple grenade. So if I do another example, right there. For whatever reason though, if you do go on strafe glide, so I suppose you have 3 options, grapple grenade, eager edge, or strafe glide. If you go on strafe glide, I don't know why, but strafe glide seems to just like not really care that you're getting pushed, which seems kind of weird to me. I don't know if that's a bug, which is why I'm like a little hesitant to recommend strafe glide, because if it is indeed a bug, I don't want to like encourage it in this video and then it gets patched and then someone goes and tries it and then they fall off. So I would honestly just recommend eager edge sword, because eager edge sword will always work, or grapple grenade, because grapple grenade will always work. But this is definitely the most dangerous part of this here. The top 2 most dangerous part of this area. Once you get across here, don't go in there. We're going to go to the left instead, because in this area we have a couple of fellows. Let's take care of them. And as we come into this room, we'll look to the right. There will be a little arc coil that will shoot. That will take off this barrier. And then you'll notice as we take off that barrier, there will be another arc coil on the ceiling that apparently I cannot hit. It's got raid boss levels of health too, apparently. That'll take off the next barrier. And then this area is another area that you need to be particularly careful with, because in this area we have vents and they explode. Right here, if you shoot these, there's like a bomb that goes off. And I tried shooting them from like here one time and I still died. So the most reliable strategy I've found to take care of those is by standing like outside this door, baiting it to open, and then like backing up, and then like maybe throwing a grenade or something like that, or shooting just like that. Like stay very far away, because the explosion range on those things is absolutely once we get past here, again, it's basically run past all of the enemies. Here you do want to be a little careful though. If you damage this windshield too much, it'll break, and then it'll pull you towards it. So I honestly kind of just like skipping past those enemies because I don't like taking that risk. And again, we don't take them out anyway. We'll skip past those enemies as well. Yeah, nothing in here that you actually fight. Oops, sorry, I went a little too far. Once you get past these enemies right here, this street right here, we're trying to get things in this hallway. You actually want to go straight instead. Don't worry, there's no explosives behind that one. Other thing right. We're going to skip that. Take the second left. And then right. Over here. You'll fall down a little bit. Hit this. And then we have arrived at the second encounter. Now for the loadout for the second encounter, we are keeping absolutely everything identical. The only thing we are changing is on our chest mods. We are changing our concussive dampener to a melee resistance, and we are going double void resistances because the boss does void damage and of course melee damage, so this makes it do significantly less damage to us. I will also note, at this point, if you would like to swap out your Praxic Blade for maybe a Mint Retrograde and put on a Wolfsbane, if you have attrition orbs on the Wolfsbane, I do think that that is a potentially better DPS strategy than using Praxic Blade. But again, like I said, I am making this guide video with loadouts that absolutely everyone has access to in mind, and I know that Wolfsbane comes from the Heliostat Exotic Mission, which came out when a lot of people were not really playing the game, so I know that a lot of people do not have Wolfsbane, and probably even less people have the Attrition Orbs Catalyst on Wolfsbane. So if you do have Wolfsbane, feel free to go ahead and use it. Once you get the nanometer full and you do the alternate activation, I believe it's heavy to light attack, rinse and repeat, but I am going to showcase how to do this with the Praxic Blade instead, because I know absolutely everyone has the Praxic Blade. So we're going to go ahead and place our rally flag, go ahead and rally up to it. You'll notice once again I have my Eager Edge Sword on. I just do this for faster traversal. You can totally swap this out for a machine gun or something like that, but we're not really going to have to worry about utilizing anything else for damage because all of our damage is going to come from the Praxic Blade. So we'll go ahead and hit this. Go ahead and hit him to start the encounter. A big thing I want to note about this guy too, and this works for frankly every single melee enemy in all of Destiny, if you just jump over their head, they cannot function. So anytime you're dealing with literally any melee in Destiny, just do that. We're going to wait for... Be very careful. That can happen, by the way. If the Cabal dudes run up to the door and you just barely make it through and the door closes on you, it'll fling you and send you flying forward. Hit a Phoenix dive immediately. Sometimes that happens. Obviously, maybe try to not cut it that close, but once you get through here, we're just going to go ahead and farm up the Scions to get our buff. Again, similar to like I said in the previous section, you can click whatever button to pull up your Renegade abilities, and that will allow you to swap between the Force Push and your actual grenade, so you can eat your actual grenade to get your Arc Soul going. But we're just going to keep on going. Let the Scions spawn. And this mechanic section is honestly pretty easy, and you're really never in any danger. The only thing that can honestly hurt you is the boss teleporting on top of you at the top of your screen when you see Harrow's Decree. That means he's like kind of hunting you, if that makes sense. I've noticed though that he doesn't actually show up on you every single time. In fact, as long as you keep moving around, he seems to never actually show up. In the bottom left, you see Harrow Evasion Sight, which means he's like get it up on trying to hunt down. So once we have our buff, we can go ahead and hit all of these locks. Those lights will appear green as we get all of them. Once we get all three, we are done with this room. But another thing too, when it comes to like being careful with Harrow, if he does spawn on you and you like don't want to hit the thing or whatever, again, Praxic Blade block, it does nothing to you. It does absolutely nothing to you. You could, of course, just go ahead and hit it with the Force Pulse to make him stop doing that. I've noticed that on occasion it can feel a little buggy, so I don't love relying on that. But again, in all of the runs that I've done where I've been solo flawlessing this, I don't even really notice him show up and do that all that often, because again, like I said, if you stay on the move for the most part, he will basically never teleport on you. So you can see I have Harrow's Decree right now. So he did teleport right there because I got slowed. You can just like run away from him. As long as you're like kind of aware a little bit, really not that much of a problem. The switches do not need to be hit in a specific order, by the way. It's a good question in the chat. These switches, the 3 switches that you have to hit in each room, no specific order necessary. Hit them as you see. We'll hit that one. So I have Harrow's Decree again, so I'm just going to keep my eye out for him, make sure he's not going to appear on me. But again, as long as you keep moving, and like we can do that too. It's really not going to get to you that much. So once we get all 3, we can head back to middle. And the 2 tips I have for you once you get into middle are 1, make sure your Arc Soul and Hellion are always up, and 2, make sure you're always killing the Scion to get the buff. Now, a gigantic tip I have for you in the, once you get back to middle, you do have to kind of stand still to force him to teleport onto you so that you can go ahead and melee him. But then that's all. He will not do that. He will not do that like first attack move anymore. Now, a big tip I have for you in middle, listen. A lot of you probably know about the strategy already where when you do the floor, it takes away 33% of his health, but then you can go ahead and do the force push on him twice as he is exiting, and it will take away another 17%. So I did it once right there, second time right there, now he's at half. That makes it so that I do not have to utilize these coils to actually get him to DPS. Now you might know that if you activate one of these coils, and start DPS by sending him through the floor and then get him to hit the coil while you're in the middle of DPS phase, it will extend your DPS phase. You can do that if you want to. My personal recommendation, though, is that you don't, because it inherently puts you in a more dangerous and risky situation. Generally speaking, I don't want to try and bait the guy to hit me in the middle of DPS, even if it is going to give me a slight DPS and extension. I'm not really trying, to me, doing this in 3 phases versus doing it in 2 phases is inconsequential. The only thing that matters is that I'm being as safe as possible and staying alive in the best way possible. So, if you want to risk it to get a little bit of extra time on DPS, you can, be my guest. I would advise against it. For our DPS rotation, as we are going to get him into the 2nd floor, you want to make sure that you eat your Arc Soul Grenade as he is running into the 2nd floor, so that you already have your getaway Arc Soul Grenade out, so that you can switch to your other grenade and hit him twice to get him to DPS. The second you get him to DPS, we're going to pop Transcendence, we're going to throw a needle into our grenade, then we're going to pop our Song of Flame, and then it's just light, heavy all day long for the entire DPS phase. 3 lights, 1 heavy, all day long with the Praxic Blade. That is literally all you're doing. It could not be more simple. And we're not using any of our Song of Flame abilities because the damage resistance we get in Song of Flame is making it so that this guy does 0 damage to us whatsoever. And if we use our Song of Flame abilities, then that is going to make it so that our Song of Flame lasts shorter. Now, you are going to run out of Song of Flame a little bit towards the end of the DPS phase. If you get weak whatsoever, you can obviously just pop a Phoenix Dive or run away from him is also an alternative option. It's also worth noting that right after DPS phase ends, he is going to do his burst attack. Again, block it with a Praxic Blade, line of sight him so that you're behind cover, or if you still have the Shadow Apprentice buff up, then you can go ahead and slap him. But right there, as you can see with the damage that I've done, that is a very, 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 very simple 3 phase. So I'll cut to Final Stand to show you how to do Final Stand right now. See you in a second. Also, be sure when you do the whole activations, make sure not to fall in them because it's insta-wipe and then your run is over. Now, as you're going into the final DPS phase, you do not need to hold on to Song of Flame. If his HP is like that low, then you can go ahead and hold on to it, I suppose, but you don't actually need your super or your Transcendence or anything like that to get through Final Stand in any capacity because there is no rush for Final Stand whatsoever in any capacity. You can take all the time in the world for Final Stand, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that. So, as he goes ahead and breaks, like I said, we are just going to take our sweet old time. We are not in any rush to go after him. These turrets particularly hurt a great deal, so we are going to very tactically take out these turrets. We do not like messing with them. We'll go ahead and pop this. I sometimes like just letting my souls do the work from range, although you can of course go ahead and make the jump and go ahead and take them out. But like I said, we are not in any rush to take this dude out. Now you can do a little bit of damage, Eventually his shields will come back up, but that's fine. That's all good. Because when his shields come back up here, you can just kind of roam around and do your thing. Oh. I think I accidentally hit the arc coil with my swords.
We've picked up a high gain transmission. Origin point is somewhere along the coast, near the Cosmodrome.
That's Rasputin, the AI Warmind. If I'm understanding him correctly, it's a distress call. There are so few ballet fans left, Guardian. It'd be a shame to lose him.
Storm combo. Basically, there's a floor that you can open right here. The coil will be right there that you can shoot. I didn't get to show you me shooting it because I think my sword storm combo accidentally hit it. But there we go. There's half of his shield gone right there. And if you just kind of wait and take your time. There we go. I think my sword storm combo hit it again. Floor opens once again. So let's fade this sucker in. Now I'm going to lose my Shadow Apprentice buff, unfortunately, so I can't do the double hit to get the rest of his shield off. But it's okay, because once you lose that buff, these Centurions right here will respawn to re-give you the Gathering Shadow buff. And then, once you have re-obtained... Okay, I think it's bugged. Okay, so you saw it blinking. I think it might be bugged for some reason. I don't know why it's bugged. In any case, the floor will continue to open. And then when you do have his shield back down, go ahead and do your thing. We'll pop the Song of Flame for good measure. I always like to make sure not to get too close to the ledge as well, because I don't want him to knock me off or anything. Or I don't want to like have an errant swing go wrong and fly massive and then I fall off. Like, even in this situation, like I'm probably gonna like to move over here. But yeah. You can take all the time in the world in this final stand. Take your, like, you know, just kind of roam around just like this. To get weak, I would say, very, very, very not or, you know, put the envelope on anything right there. Now, as we make our way into the final jumping puzzle, the one recommendation that I would encourage you to make is have a long-range weapon. So if you can bring a scout rifle with you, that's helpful. If you don't bring a scout rifle or anything, or something that's, like, not in SMG. So once we get done with the Shadow Apprentice buff, we'll go ahead and whack this. We'll go ahead and run over here and whack this. And then that'll make this pop up, activate it, and then this sucker down. Then we'll wait. And we'll do our thing. Start hopping over here. And then we'll hop down the ship. I'm just going to use Eager Edge Sword to make this reversal just a little bit quicker. Obviously, make that jump space warlock. Let's hop over here. Use the last one. Here. These switches. Right there. That'll open this latch. We'll go ahead and fall all the way down. And then once we get right here, I just want to peeking over the edge and going to the one closest to the ledge. And then if you, that saves you from having to go down the tube. Over here, you'll see it. And take your time with this, dude. Take your time with this. You do not want to lose the rush. You are in absolutely no rush. Play it slow, play it smart, you're all good. Yeah, make our way right here. You can also, again, once again, for this section, you can switch back to pure Shran if you really, really want to have a grapple grenade in your pocket. Or alternatively, remember you have your practice blade. Pull out the practice blade. Once we get to this section, this is one of the few enemies that we have to kill in a commercial area. We have to kill this right here. Thankfully, it's just a Fortis one, so it's not a Gloriosus, it's not a scary one. Once we kill that behemoth, we will be able to activate the crank, and then we're going to come over here to the right, and we're going to hop onto this. Now, if you're quick, you can get on it right away, but if you're not that quick, I would encourage you to just wait for it to do one rotation of going back up and coming back down. So So you can just sit here, mind your business. You don't have to be that quick, but again, it's like another situation where it's like, you know, no need to risk it, right? Eventually it'll come back down. Once it comes back down, you can go ahead and hop onto it, and then we'll just wait for it to go back up. Scout rifle is really nice for those Scion snipers. And then once it goes all the way up to this platform right here, and then we're going to take a slight left and head over to this platform. There we go. And continue making our way through. Nothing crazy. And then for the most part, for the rest of this commercial area, there are basically no enemies. This section, we're just going to pretend like these guys don't exist. We're going to store. Similar story there as well. They will have shots and stuff like that, but they side. And if you want to be super safe, you can take them out. You also, if you're bringing an egret sword, you can kind of skate through the rooms before the enemies have any chance to kill you. Right here we have the walkers. A little spooky when it comes to shots. But we're just going to run all underneath here. If you want to take them slow, be my guest, take them slow. Probably be the safer option if you're not confident in reversal. But yeah, so once you slip under here, we're going to go through this one cover to the left. And then if you take a 90-degree turn to the right, and then just wrap around here, this is the correct one that we're going to want to go through. So we'll hop through, take a right, take a left, take another left, kill this grate, kill the grate on the right, take another left, take another left, and then to the right. And then that's all good right there. This section, yet again, another one. Don't actually have to kill any of the enemies. Can if you want to. It can be nice, too, to have your souls active while you're going through these sections, because as you're running through them, when your souls are active, your Hellion will lob the fire at them, your Arc Souls will go ahead and shoot and stuff, and little proc devours. You get healing from literally anything that hits you. Now, once we get to this area, we're going to go ahead and get our shadow buff. And if there's a way that you feel more comfortable doing this jumping section, then please do your way instead of my way. But I'm just going to show you the way that I really like to do. So I'm going to kind of like pass back here to yours. That guy, boom, now I have Shadow Apprentice. So it's like starting with the bridge right here. I like looking to, I'm going to take out these guys just so they're not messing with me. Starting from the bridge right here, I like going towards that. It's also probably a good idea too to have your Praxis laid out while you're doing this, because then when you mess up a jump, or you need a swing to get you in position, or like let's say I fall and I'm like, oh no, then I can just hit like a little quick jump and fall right back in and whatnot. This is also another situation where like a grapple grenade would not be a terrible idea. If you mess up a jump, you can just grapple grenade. Like really safe. Totally up to you. Right here. Right here. The hardest jump of this section is right here. Try and get a mantle right there. And then once we're here, this is why I love having a scout rifle here too. Little plink at that guy. Once we're here, we're gonna look straight up. Hop up here. Next one is right in front of us. Then we're gonna turn around 180 degrees. Next one is right here. Then we're gonna look up to the right. Next one is right here. Just glide, by the way, for this. Then we're gonna go straight up. Take this guy out, and then we're gonna hit this plant on the left, and that is all we have to do for this section. Then once we're here, we're gonna head for that right there. You'll see the red light. Hop right down here, and then what just opened up. We're gonna hop over inside of that. That is how you do that section. That's probably the riskiest section in this traversal area. Again, like before, take your time with it. Not in any rush. Take your time. If you, when you get to this area, by the way, that's glorious. Walk right first, very good. Take a hard left and run straight through the door. You don't gotta mess with that guy one bit. Again, basically every area here. Not actually done. Once you get to this door, here I have talking. So you'll just sit here for a little bit. And then these are two enemies that you actually do have to. These two guys, you have to take out. No no problem. Your super is probably available at this point. Give it a little 1-2, 1-2 with the Praxis Blade. Easy peasy. Now we let this sword slowly, and just like that, we're on the final boss. As far as the loadout for the final boss goes, the only thing we're changing mob of chest piece, we are returning to a concussive dampener in conjunction with double arc resistances, as basically all of the damage in this encounter comes from arc. The boss's attacks, the lightning from the ceiling, the shadows attacks, all that goodness, all arc, so that is going to help us be significantly more durable. The other change that we're going to want to make is we want to make sure we have a machine gun on. If you have one with auto-loading holster, even better. You don't need auto-loading holster, but auto-loading holster is a nice quality of life thing, makes things a little bit more convenient. You'll see why specifically we love going with this. Now, for the final boss, we are once again DPSing him exclusively with the Praxic Blade. Similar to the first boss, if you have Wolfsbane and you have it all kitted out and you would prefer to use that instead, be my guest. I have not tested it, but I have heard that it is good. If you're aware of another DPS strategy that you think is really, really solid, go ahead and use it, be my guest. This is what I have been using. This is what has been absurdly safe and very, very easy to execute. And in my personal opinion, safety and simplicity are the way that you want to go in a solo flawless run. So that is the loadout we are going to rock and roll with. We'll go ahead and place a rally banner, all that goodness, and we will get started. Open up the door. Huge tip for this one. I know I already mentioned it in both of the previous encounters, but the block on the Praxic Blade makes you immune to basically everything. So if you're ever in a situation where you're taking a lot of heat, or maybe the enemy, the shielded enemy is about to do the blast, so you can't really get away from him, all you got to do is go ahead and rip the Praxic Blade block. You basically take no damage whatsoever. As we start here, our number one priority is going to be to find 3 Incendiors, pick up all the buffs, so that we get our Shadow Novice, so we can strip this guy of his shield. So I'm going to try and wait until he does his attack. Fast clear and a safe clear compared to that of Bleak Watcher. For the rest of our abilities, Phoenix Dive, of course, keeps maximum uptime on our Hellion. Arcane Needle gives us 3 melee charges, which is great. And for our fragments, I like going Dominance, where our Arc Grenades jolt targets, so our Arc Soul is going to be constantly jolting targets. And when we pop Transcendence, it turns our grenade into a Void Grenade, so we can get the weakening portion as well. Facet of Hope, so we have maximum uptime on our Phoenix side for healing, good survivability, and Hellion uptime. Protection for general bonus damage resistance when surrounded by enemy combatants. And Courage, where our Arc, Solar, and Void abilities deal increased damage to targets afflicted with Darkness debuffs. That is going to be for our Hellion and our Arc Soul to deal bonus damage to anything that has a Darkness debuff, aka if we throw an Arcane Needle at something and unravel it, then those things will do bonus damage, which feels really, really nice. Now, as far as the stats go, pretty much as high of a grenade stat as you can get. If you can't get all the way up to 199, no problem. You can supplement that a little bit by utilizing font mods on your gloves, but we really just care mostly about the grenade stat. We also want to get a relatively decent class stat, somewhere in the 60 to 80 range for high uptime on our Phoenix Dive, high uptime on our healing with that and our Hellion. And then super, you really just want to get to 100. I'm a little overkill on this with 120. I don't really need the bonuses all that much because I'm not doing any actual damage with my Song of Flame super. You'll see what I'm talking about in a little bit. But yeah, close to 200 grenades as possible, close to 100 super stat as possible, 60 to 80 class, and then the rest you can kind of distribute wherever. Probably throw it in melee, I guess. Kind of up to you. As far as weaponry goes, we are utilizing the Praxic Blade throughout the entirety of this dungeon, and do not worry, you do not need any of the upgrades. I know you see a Catalyst on here on mine. Inconsequential. I don't even think I utilize the Catalyst in the run. I just can't unequip it. Otherwise, I would, just to prove a point. As far as the form goes, I currently have Balanced Form on, which is the base form that you receive. If you do have access to Offensive Form, though, you can throw it on for bonus damage on bosses. However, it's only like a 10% increase to damage, so you're not really missing out too much. I've done every solo flawless run with the Balanced Form instead of the Offensive Form, so if you're missing Offensive Form, it's really not that big of a deal. The thing that I would definitely encourage you to try and get before you maybe take a swing at this is the Impact Core, which you can get Friday through Weekly Reset at Tharsis Outpost by interacting with the little box on the table for 4,000 credits to the right of honor. This makes it so that since we're using the Song of Flame super, every swing of this is going to scorch targets. It's just a little bit of extra damage, makes the DPS phases a little bit quicker since we're using the Praxic Blade for DPS. But again, if you don't have this, it's really not the end of the world. You can still totally solo flawless this. It might just take you an extra phase. You might notice here I don't have a mod. If you do have Forceful Blade 2, 3, or 1 for extra impact, that would definitely be helpful, but of course do not actually need it. Next, we really just, any add clearing weapon. I like the Urtide Apex submachine gun. You can use literally whatever you want. It's completely up to you. And then heavy weapon. I just have an eager edge sword to make the traversal parts of this video a little bit more quick, and frankly, the mechanic in car is a little bit more quick too, because I'm not using my heavy weapon for DPS. You can use absolutely whatever you want. You can throw in a machine gun or something like that for better damage, better survivability. Completely up to you. As far as armor mods go, a harmonic siphon, which is nice because our SMG matches up with our super. A dynamo mod for bonus super energy when we dive. Kinetic siphon for orbs of power on the Praxic Blade kills. Here, I love a firepower. Grenade final blows create orbs of power that counts for both the Arc Soul and the Hellion. Right here, momentum transfer and bolstering detonation give me melee and class ability energy when I cause damage with a grenade. These, however, you would replace with a grenade font if you do need a little bit of help in the grenade stats, so you can get closer to 200. Down on the chest for the first encounter specifically, we're going with a concussive dampener, a solar resistance, and a void resistance. That will change as we go encounter to encounter. On the boots, double kinetic weapon surge for a 17% weapon damage bonus for our Praxic Blade in conjunction with Harmonic Scavenger. And then class item, Reaper, powerful attraction, time dilation. If you don't have 11 energy, you can probably drop the powerful attraction for like maybe a bomber mod or an outreach mod instead. Basically, all of these mods are going to remain identical throughout the entirety of the dungeon, with exception to the resistances, so you can kind of keep that the entire time. Final thing is our artifact, which is particularly important. Swordstorm combo, going to help a lot with some bonus damage. Kinetic Rupture can be a little bit of bonus damage as well. I think the Praxic Blade procs it a little bit, sometimes, sort of. It's not super consistent, but it's a tiny bit of extra damage, so why not? Combination Argent Blade. This procs occasionally gives you a little bit of extra damage. What we really care the most about, though, is Singularity Blade, where while you have a Void Elemental buff, melee and sword hits weaken targets. This is going to amp up your DPS a little bit, because if you walk into DPS phase with Devour active, which is Void Elemental buff, then your Praxic Blade hits will weaken targets, so you'll do bonus damage. We also like something like Kinetic Synthesis, sustained kinetic weapon damage, and Rapid Final Blows have a chance to generate a unique ammo brick that keeps higher uptime on our Praxic Blade ammo.
Sure.
With all that, that is the build. Now, I've already taken the liberty of coming here to the first encounter. I figure you don't really need a guide that shows you how to get here, but I do want to mention that if you're looking for a specific encounter in particular or a specific section, I do have labeled chapters in the video play bar down below. So if you want to skip ahead to maybe you just need help with the final boss or the second boss, something like that, you can go ahead and skip ahead. However, I would encourage you to definitely pay attention to this first encounter, because I'm going to offer some general tips that are my buff, because he will of course go ahead and make another puddle for me. Scare a lot of people. All of the dive, you get a nice burst of healing, pick up all the buffs, so that we get our Shadow Novice, so we can strip this guy of his shield. So I'm gonna try and wait until he does his attack, strip him of his shield, and then the machine gun is what I love doing for the Tickle Fingers. We also, if you get in a predicament, sticky situation with the Tickle Fingers, you can of course go ahead and hit your Phoenix Dive. You get a nice burst of healing, keeps you relatively safe. I like killing that first guy as well and hitting an orb. That's going to give me an extension out here, so I can hopefully strip the shield on the second one and continue taking out Incendiaries to hopefully get a Shadow Master buff before I make my way into the Taken Realm. If I don't, it's not the end of the world, but I definitely like to. I'm gonna go ahead and take out this guy's Tickle Fingers. We're gonna get teleported in. With Shadow Master, if I have Shadow Master, I like to compel the first one, if I can. If I don't, I'll just kill him. It's not really the end of the world. I know it's a question. Probably going to be, Mac, what do you do in terms of how many you compel versus how many you get? For the most part, it doesn't matter that much, but I try to get like a 2-3 split either way. And, sorry, let me talk more about that actually after I'm running around. After you take care of the middle one, whether you compel or kill it, I always like kind of looking up, and I always kill the top one, because I don't really want to bother spawning platforms to run all the way up there. So I usually just kind of look for him. Oh, I think I might have killed him actually, without realizing it, because the orb is right there. The one thing you need to keep an eye out for while you're going for that guy is the phalanxes. So just make sure you take out the phalanxes first before you start shooting for him, and then you can go ahead and try and take him out. Now we're gonna get taken back to the regular run. We need to reacquire a Shadow Master buff, or a Shadow buff second time. Anytime you get taken back to this realm, also, he will do Tickle Fingers basically within the first 5 seconds. So anytime I get TP'd back, that is the first thing that I look to do. And then after I'm done with that, I go ahead and I run around and I find all of these guys. So we're going to reacquire our Shadow buff so we can strip that guy of his shield. one more Incendior. There he is. And we'll go ahead and take off shield. And once again, friendly reminder, you can swap back and forth between your grenade and the mechanic grenade by pressing whatever your renegade ability button is. Z. So I can put Z whenever I want to go back and forth between the shadow pulse and the mechanic and my arc soul grenade so I can eat it and get my arc soul up. So we're just gonna go ahead and keep going. Sounds fun. Now, as far as how many do I kill versus how many do I compel, honestly, I think the easiest way to go about doing this mission is to make it so that you have to jump as little as possible in the Taken Realm, because I think one of the things that is going to get the most people killed is trying to do all this jumping stuff. They're going to fall off at some point, you have to go to action play, use the swing, and come back to your platform or something like that. But for most people, jumping is their thing. So I like to limit the amount of jumping I have. As such, like, and because of that, the more you run around and try and collect the buffs to compel all of the guys, the more jumping you do, the higher you do. Me personally, I would rather just deal with the lightning in the main realm, and I'll show you how to deal with the lightning in the main realm. I would rather just keep a slightly shorter DPS time, keep the lightning in the lightning realm, and or deal with the lightning in the lightning realm, and take care of it that way. Now, when it comes to the last guy, if you do have Shadow Master, I would encourage you to compel the final guy, because everyone that you kill in compel takes 3 seconds off the DPS base. So typically you want Shadow Master when it comes to taking out the final dude. I would encourage you to compel him so you get the extra 2 seconds. So we'll take that guy out, get that, get teleported back. Eat our grenade, start with our Devour procs. And so if I recall, is that him? Definitely. Kind of something you have to watch out for too. Your souls and your Hellion and stuff like that do a lot of damage. So if you're not careful, they will kill the dudes. Especially if you're like maybe not trying to kill the dudes. It's not the end of the world, but like you can be a little bit careful with it. You can wait for your souls to expire and whatnot. So yeah. So I'll run ahead and compel this guy. So that's my final compel. So right here I did 2 compels thing to have. Right there, me out. But ideally, like either 2 compels, 3 kills, or 3 compels, 2 kills. But again, it's really not the end. So I'm gonna motion my way back over here. Now, as I enter into the DPS phase, I always like making sure that I have my Getaway Soul active and my Hellion active. And so I'm gonna tell you what my DPS combo is gonna be before I actually do it. But basically what I do is, if I'm from the Taken Realm, then I shoot this sword, and then I keep my Arc Soul, and then pop my Hellion as I'm getting teleported back in. Right when I get teleported back in, I pop my Transcendence, I do a melee into a grenade, because my grenade should weaken the boss, and then I pop Song of Flame and do my light heavy combo on the boss. It's also worth noting, it can be very beneficial to walk into the DPS phase with Devour, because of your Singularity Blade Artifact mod, while you have a Blade buff, your sword hits will weaken, so you can continuously reapply weaken on the boss. You don't have to, but it is something that I think you can do. So again, we'll do the example. I'll kill him, get the final ward, eat my grenade, get the dive, pop Transcendence, and then in, boom, and then go up to the blade, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Anytime the boss goes the lightning fingers as well, he'll knock you back to the lightning. Anytime the boss does the lightning fingers, that is why I will real quick go ahead and pull out my machine gun, run his hands, stop doing the lightning fingers. And then I'll keep an eye on my L-bar and pop. Anytime it gets slow, I'll go ahead and pop a Phoenix dive. There's the lightning fingers right there. We'll go ahead and shoot both of them. And I'm paying attention to my DPS timer as well, because as the DPS timer gets low, I know I'm going to get the lightning, so I want to start walking my way out so I don't get zapped by the lightning. Now this is the part that might scare a lot of people. Listen, do not panic during this part. This part is not that bad. All you have to do is survive until you get teleported. And you can do that very easily by just using your Praxis Blade whenever the shadows is explosion, hitting your Phoenix dive anytime you're weak, and using your machine gun to go ahead and pop his lightning fingers. He will only do it once, And then once you have his lightning beam, you can honestly start to blast around the border of the arena with a sword boy over here to back up with you. The only thing you need to be careful of right there is the Incendiors. That can be a very scary situation. I would honestly encourage you to just kill the Incendiors instead of doing that. But once you get teleported here, I always like instantly blasting this guy right here so I can go ahead and orb. Once I can orb, I can spend my time in the realm. If time permits as well, if he's giving me an angle, I will also kill the guy up top so that I can break another orb with more time. And then my only priority is try and get the Shadow Master buff that I can. That's all I care about, so that I can take Shadow Master back into the main realm and use it to hit the switches to make the lightning go away. So, I'm just going to kind of dodge all of these dudes. And honestly, if I do cross, I just want to go over something in the world. Maybe I will take one out. You just want to make sure that you don't compel them, because that will take away Shadow Master buff, and we need that to be back in the main room. So that we can turn off all the switches. We actually don't need Shadow Master to turn off the switches as well. You just need Shadow Apprentice, which is the tier 2 of the buff. But definitely you should get Shadow Master going back in. Then the second we get back in, I'm going to go straight to the right. I'm going to hit this switch so we can start getting rid of this lightning. That makes this area significantly safer. Then he'll do the triple fingers right about now. Back in. And then I'll come over here. And I'll hit that one. And then for the most part, that's all I really need to get. After I do those two, I like to shoot this guy so that I can refresh my buff. Just go ahead and make another funnel for me. And then it can honestly be nice to take care of these two as well. So we got that one right there. For the most part, like, that's pretty much it. You really don't need to get the back ones, because we're not really interested in going back there for the rest of the fight. We have no real reason to leave this area of the arena. Just baiting this guy back here. Hit him with that. I like to try and kill him with my Praxis Blade as well, so that I get darkness energy towards my Transcendence meter, so I have my Prismatic Pops ready to go for DPS phase. And then once we're in here, we're back in business. Now, once we get back in here, since we've turned off all of the lightning pylons that we've needed to turn off, now we can go ahead and run around and start doing a couple of compels if we would like. So I'll see if I can find a compel. If I recall correctly, there was one back here. I think I see him. I'll go ahead and hit this puddle so that I get an extension on my Shadow Master buff. So I'll go ahead and hit this. With these hobgoblins too, like getting a soul ready to go is usually really nice, because then they'll hit it and get devoured. So as you can see, the souls do a pretty significant amount of damage to them. So you need to be pretty quick on the compel. Whenever you compel them, they will also spawn another shadow puddle. So that is something worth noting, so you can go and pick it up. I'm gonna try and get Shadow Apprentice before I get teleported back in. Got it in the nick of time. Wouldn't have been the end of the world if I didn't get it though. And also, every time you teleport back in, you'll get some of these pylons to reactivate. So you do definitely want to take care of those. Generally speaking, my rule for DPS, as I'm walking into DPS phase, is I don't want this one active, and I don't want either of the two front ones active. So I always try to make sure that I have those down as I'm going into DPS phase. So like right there, I don't like that that one's up, because then it'll be active during DPS phase, and I'm typically always standing somewhere in here. Sometimes the boss will be over there, so it can be, if you don't want to take any, I mean, you'll still be able to live it in Song of Flame, but if you don't want to take any risks, you can run over here and hit that one, so that even if the boss is standing over here, he won't be over here in this area. But I'm going to show you guys an example of what a DPS phase looks like if you start it from the normal realm as opposed to starting it from the Taken realm. If you can help it, it's generally better to start the DPS phase from the normal realm than it is to start it from the Taken realm. So do go for that if you can, but starting it from the Taken realm also isn't the end of the world, as y'all saw. So there's our final compel. Hit a Phoenix dive. And then before I make my way back to the normal realm and finish up in there, I am going to collect a few shadow buffs, just so I, at the very least, have Shadow Apprentice when I walk back in, so that if any of the pylons re-emerge as I get teleported back in, I can go ahead and shut them off in preparation for a DPS phase. So we'll go ahead and break that orb. Now I'm completely done in this realm. I'll go ahead and so there we go. We had a couple of them emerge. I'm gonna do Tickle Fingers first because I know he's gonna do it right away. And then I'm gonna go ahead and retract both of these so that they're not on. I missed that. Retract both of these so that they're not on during the DPS phase. And then this one as well. The ones in the back, don't gotta worry about. Because you're not really going back there. So the boss is never falling back that far. You're not chasing it back there. Tickle Fingers again. And so since we're already done, get a little risky. Again, in that situation, pull out the Praxic Blade, hit a little block if you feel like you're too late, if you feel like you're caught off guard by his explosion, you won't make any damage. That's also extremely applicable to the beginning of phases when you have the lightning going on, when you don't have the buff available to actually stop it. Now, before you go into DPS phase, if you wait too long, even after killing the final guy, another one will respawn, and he will have an immunity shield, and he will not respawn during DPS phase. So if you're not immediately ready to go into DPS, I recommend just waiting out another one, taking his shield off, and then taking him out right before you're ready to do DPS phase. That way you don't have to deal with another one of these DPS. So I'm feeling pretty good. I'll go ahead and hit that. Then I'll immediately start DPS, Prismatic, Melee Grenade, Flame, and then Praxic Blade all day long, trying to hit the light heavy combo. And then whenever he goes ahead, the Lightning Hands, out. It's also worth noting that you won't always be, whenever he does that, when you get back in, not every single swing will actually allow you to do the full light heavy combo. So again, I'm just watching that timer. Once the timer gets low, I know the lightning's about to turn back on, so we'll just come back to that in the arena, so hit my Phoenix dive. And then again, this is going to be the scariest part for most people. Do not play scared. Like, do not panic, do not freak out. It is completely fine. You can just kind of roam around the arena, have your souls active, stay on the border, wait for him to do his Tickle Fingers, and if this dude gets too close to you and starts doing his burst attack, all you gotta do is pull out the Praxic Blade, hit the block. So right here, he's getting too close.
Time to blow this rickety barge.
Not worried about a thing. And then you got your Phoenix Dive available pretty much always. A great thing here too is to have your souls active. Because while you have your souls active, they'll go ahead and click away at some of the other enemies. That'll proc Devour for you. All you have to do is make it right here. Burst this guy down real quick. I think at the current moment, I'm on pace for a 4 phase, which again, is not the end of the world. If there's anything that I hope people have learned when it comes to my Solo Fallen Sky series, it is we take a safe 4 phase over a dangerous 3 phase all day, every single day. If you're a crazy person, like your Solo Fallen in front of it, we're only doing this thing once. So if it takes you 1 extra phase, extra, 5 minutes, whatever, right? When you put it on distance, by the way, be extremely careful. It's basically the only angle that you can get is going down the ledge, and obviously you're looking at you right there. To be extremely that's what be ready to pull out the Praxic Blade and swing back and give the items if you're, or you may not use it. So yeah, we're on the high level DPS, we don't So boom, that one's good, that one's good, that one's good, and that one's good. So I'm in a pretty good spot. We're chilling. Now I can see that I'm ready to go to DPS, but once again, I've probably taken too long that another of the immune guys is going to pop up. There he is. I don't want to deal with an immune guy in the middle of DPS, so I am going to take him out before I start DPS. So that should do the trick. Let me get my Arc Soul back up now. Go ahead and eat it, and let's see if we can make some magic happen right here. Transcendence, boom, boom. 1, 2, 3, 4. I noticed if you can help it, if you're on the higher ground instead of being down in this little pool, it makes it a little bit more reliable to get the 1, 2, 3, 4 Praxic Blade combo, where like you actually need to stick to him. But I'm not 100% sure. Just something I noticed. And yep, right there, more than enough damage. There is your solo flawless, nice and easy. Again, biggest tip for survivability right there. Hey, switch to machine guns, take out his hands when he knows he's doing lightning. If he knows your E is getting a little weak, go ahead and hit a Phoenix dive. Do not go into DPS unless that pylon, and that pylon are down. As such, it's generally speaking always best to start DPS with a regular realm as opposed to pylon. Phoenix dive, King Gun, take out his hands when you notice he's doing lightning. If you notice your HP is getting a little weak, go ahead and hit a Phoenix dive. Do not go into DPS unless that pylon, and that pylon are down. As such, it's generally speaking always best to start DPS with a regular realm as opposed to taken realm if you can help it, because then you can actually burn off these pylons for DPS. Additionally, make sure that you go to DPS immediately after killing the shielded guy. And finally, as you notice that the Sayer's weakness timer, which is your DPS timer, as you notice that it slows 2 seconds, 1 second, that is your cue to be like, oh, time to get out, you can find it that's about to happen, time to stand at the edge, and obviously make sure hopefully you continue that when make your way out. Another big tip I'm going to give you as well when you're having to deal with the lightning, it is perfectly fine to kind of roam around the arena like this. Do not go back here while that lightning is up, because if you go all the way back here and the boss starts to pickle fingers, you don't have an angle. And the only way you can get an angle on him is by running all the way around. So while you have the lightning going on, the other tip I can give you is like basically don't cross this line or the line on the other side of the arena. I'm going to hop between here, this corner, this entire back of the platform area right here, that corner.
Taken in this area, but never at the same time. It makes me suspect a coordinated alliance. Eliminating enemies is secondary to protecting our battery carriers. Have stabilized. The Guardian's compass has guided us faithfully yet again.
The Scorn's continued presence here can't be all about the ether. There must be a larger strategy at play.
Strategy is not the Scorn's greatest asset. Their uncommon focus belies a greater will than we've seen
टारगेट
before.
बड़ा रहेगा हमारा, टारगेट्स हमारे बड़े रहेंगे, डोंट वरी। 4600 तक का टारगेट लेके चलेंगे, बट एक क्लोजिंग के लिए रुक जाते हैं। रिप्लेस करेगा फिर एंट्री करेंगे, नहीं करेगा तो भाई ठीक है भाई। तो देवेंद्र ब्रो कैसे हो? ठीक है भाई। किसी में ट्रेड करेंगे, अभी रुक जाओ। वाओ, भयंकर भागे बड़ा भाई, बहुत दिक्कत है। भाई मैंने ये खरीदी थी 4 बॉटल, सच में ये वाली से रिजेक्ट करके जाए उसके मेरे को ब्रोकरेज देनी पड़ती है भाई। अभी ये सब याद रखूँगी क्या भाई? मैं ट्रेड कर दूँगी। फोकस करना भाई। हेलो, अभी मत प्लान करना, वेट फॉर द गुड क्लोजिंग पहले एक ही ट्रेड करेंगे बट क्वालिटी ट्रेड करेंगे just take a break of at least 1 week or 4 to 5 days then 190 people closing 30 minutes की closing होने वाली है तो वेट करते हैं ये वाला जो लेवल है ये 30 मिनट के लिए तो डबल बॉटम हो सकता है वेट फॉर द गुड क्लोजिंग दोस्तों अपना 2 नंबर का काम करती है बहुत अच्छा मुझे बताऊंगी भाई आप ये तो नहीं सोचते थे आई एम गुड $50 है 100x लिवरेज है सेफ लॉट साइज क्या रहेगा गोल्ड में you are not supposed to trade with $50 से गोल्ड में ट्रेड नहीं होगा नहीं ही होगा $50 से गोल्ड ट्रेड मत करो रिस्क मैनेजमेंट नहीं कर पाओगे तो शेयर में ट्रेड कर दो ज़्यादा बेहतर है क्योंकि गोल्ड में कम से कम 0.01 लॉट में भाई 7 से $8 का रिस्क बनता ही बनता है तो कैपिटल का अगर 2% रिस्क करना है या 1% रिस्क करना है तो भाई उसमें आपका रिस्क मैनेजमेंट फॉलो नहीं हो पाएगा तो आप जब तक आपके पास कैपिटल $150 $200 नहीं है तब तक आप गोल्ड में मत करो और मैं सीरियसली बोल रही हूँ बिकॉज गोल्ड की मार्केट जो गोल्ड का प्राइस है गोल्ड काफ़ी चेंज हो चुका है पहले से गोल्ड काफ़ी वॉलेटाइल हो चुका है मूव नहीं करता इसका मतलब ये नहीं है वॉलेटाइल नहीं है स्टॉप लॉस थोड़े बड़े बनते हैं तो आपको ये सोचना पड़ेगा ट्रेडिंग स्टार्ट करी थी माई कैपिटल वॉज वेरी लेस ऑफ अराउंड 400 इंडियन मार्केट डेफिनेटली वेट फॉर वन गुड क्लोजिंग डू दिस बोलूँगी 4600 तक होल्ड करेंगे बस थोड़ा सा पेशेंस
Well done, Guardian. The reef ball is next. If we survive becoming storm, the tower and the dreaming city must stand united. We'll hold the line well together. As we open more ley lines, we can start exfiltrating our lost Techians. Once my coven is reassembled, we'll exorcise Savathun's worm and put an end to her lies. Once and for all.
Since a month, Monday is also a trapping day, as usual. मेरे पास $1000 हैं तो कितने लॉट से ट्रेडिंग करनी चाहिए आपकी कैपिटल का रिस्क देखो आपकी कोई भी लिवरेज है कोई भी चीज़ है आपकी कैपिटल का रिस्क सिर्फ 2% से होना चाहिए उससे ऊपर नहीं होना चाहिए उस अकॉर्डिंग आप लॉट कैलकुलेट करोगे क्या पता दोस्त की बेच दियो दोस्त तो मेरे तुम ही हो ना बता कोई पूछ रहे $10 भीख मिल जाएगा भाई ऐसा क्यों करते हो हंसाया मत करो समझ सकती हूँ बहुत दर्द हो रहा होगा बीटीसी गिरेगा बीटीसी ऊपर नहीं जाएगा पहले ही बता रही हूँ वाह भाई सही बनाओ अभी सामने होती ना मैं अवार्ड दे देती क्या कमेंट है वाह अभी सामने होती ना इधर ही अवार्ड दे देती मैं इधर ही तुरंत वाह कमेंट आ रहे लाडले किडनी नहीं दिल बेचना पड़ता है ट्रेडिंग में हाय क्या दर्द है वाह इतना दर्द कैसे कैसे मतलब बयां कर देते हो वाह क्या बात है बहुत सही कल कल पूरे दिन मैंने एनालिसिस किया और सुबह सॉरी कल पूरे दिन मैंने एनालिसिस किया और सुबह 3:30 बजे उठ के अकाउंट ब्लॉक कर दिया। बहुत सही। मोटिवेशनल जी सर जस्ट डू वन थिंग, एक बार फिर से कर दो, मैं चेक करवा लेती हूँ। एक बार फिर से आप हमें टेक्स्ट कर दीजिए सर प्लीज। अमित जी देयर विल बी नो इम्पैक्ट ऑफ दिस। मेरे पास $1000 है तो कितने लॉट से ट्रेडिंग करनी चाहिए सर? अगर आप बिल्कुल बिगिनर हो, बिल्कुल जीरो से स्टार्ट कर रहे हो, या अगर आप अभी 1 साल के अंदर
Are you ready? Perfect. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's good to see you again.